the business of yachting, the business of charter yachting, that's the essence of what we're talking about. We got a new group here, and I'm excited because there's so many different perspectives from an hour ago. I'm going to start out with Paul because I think arguably Paul has built the most successful charter program that you can measure by metrics in this industry. In how he and his crew have supported his owner's vision and bringing a charter program and building a brand. The more I talk to Paul, the more fascinated I get with what he's done. And I want to hear from Paul's words because he was financially incentivized to do this. He took the reins in his hands, no pun to unbridled, obviously, but he really has taken this on. Liam's sitting next to him going, I want to be Paul when I grow up. So Paul, talk to us a little bit about the Loon brand, the Loon charter program, and what you've done here in the last 7 years to turn this into something I think that's pretty freaking special.
Of course. Hi, thank you guys. It's great to be here. I've been working with the Loon program for 7-8 years now. And back in 2017, when the owner purchased the first Loon, it was a 1997 155-foot Christensen with quite a low gross tonnage and quite a skinny beam. And I was like, and the boss said, I want to charter this boat 12 weeks a year. And I walked down the dock. He'd already bought the boat. I came on board for the sales survey, and I was like, how the hell am I going to charter this boat 12 weeks a year? And one of the good things is the owner at the same time said, Captain Paul, I'm going to hire you, and I'm also going to give you 1 or 2 points in the charter revenue, in the net number, at the end of each month. So I was like, awesome, baby, let's rock and roll. And from there, we were like, how are we going to stand out from the crowd? Back then, the Bahamas charter market was hot, not so much nowadays. And so we hit the ground running, and it was, what are we going to do? And it was, let's start doing something a bit different. Back then, I think Gene Machine was the only boat doing Instagram. They were at maybe 7,000 or 10,000 followers, and that was pretty cool. And I think they'd rescued a boat across the Atlantic and done a few things there. So I've got a bit of feedback here. So I was like, let's do it. And so it was just me, a drone and a GoPro at that time. And it sort of grew a little bit more, and then I was able to get a deckhand that could also fly a drone, and then I could. Then we bought Motor Yacht 180, and I managed to get a deckhand that did a bit more than just driving a drone and holding a GoPro. And now I've got this guy. So Austin's one of our onboard videographers, along with Steve. I've got 2 guys on the boat. And they film and document all our lives and show a bit more of the behind the scenes.
So I got to ask. I see he's sporting a Scuba Pro logo. So are you also getting sponsors and branding with what you do?
100%. So Scuba Pro is one of the companies that we own, that the owner owns, but yes, and that is part of it. Is building the brand and building everything. I mean, there's not a company that you walk down the dock here that doesn't want to have their products on board Motor Yacht Loon. We get lift foils, we get sea bobs, we get linens, uniform with Kingston wherever there he is, with liquid yachtwear over there. So I mean, it's amazing how not just booking charters, but how the business of the yacht can just save considerable amounts of money by working these brand partnerships.
Fantastic. Now, all the way to my left, we have Marin here, and you started, gosh, I met you, 2006, somewhere around there?
Yeah, I started in 2005.
Okay.
No, I mean,
I think I met you at the Mets trade the following year. You had just kind of come onto the scene.
No, so I always chased big boats because since I was 8 years old, I liked big boats. So I was always making databases, pictures, and stuff like that. And one of my friends said in 2004, when the digital cameras came around a little bit, like, I saw the picture of boats, so you can sell pictures. I thought, oh, okay. So I started creating a business with selling pictures. And it was actually funny because most of my photographers were crew members, and I had a cruise ship captain because there were no drones, and it was very hard to get pictures of yachts. So, and then in 2007, we launched Superyacht Times after I graduated, and yeah, haven't had a real job since.
That's not a bad thing. So in the last almost 20 years, you've seen this whole industry evolve, I would say somewhat significantly. What's the most fundamental change that you've observed that you think is good for the industry?
I mean, I think when I started my life was pretty simple. You had a website, you put 5 articles on, and you were done for the day. And I think these days you have newsletters, social media, and all the different social media guys. But I do think social media did a lot of good things for our industry, and also what the guys like Loon do. But there's a lot of influencers, a lot of people. It makes yachting very accessible very quickly. You can promote a lifestyle. People see images on Instagram, and before that it was kind of closed off. You needed to read a magazine, a book, you pick up a book, or maybe go to a website. But through social media, famous people are on board boats. They share it. So I think that's been a big change. When I started, I had to sell the internet first before I could sell even advertising.
Right.
We didn't sell anything until after the financial crisis. Then people started to change budgets, and so for our business, the financial crisis was good because we had zero revenue then. So then people suddenly want to do. And the second thing, COVID for our business again was also good because it changed again. It went even more digital after that.
Okay. Now, I'm going to direct this to these 2 captains off to my right. The audience is left. I have grown up in an industry where confidentiality, privacy has been paramount. And then we've come onto these boats with internet access, social media, cameras, drones, all of that. And you're walking a fine line, certainly, where you are putting out content and you're empowering your crew to create content. At the same time, you have high net worth individuals who value their privacy and oftentimes anonymity. How do you walk that balance? What do you have policies, procedures, programs? How do you do both successfully simultaneously?
I'll let you tell.
For us, it's a lot about the brand. So the Unbridled brand and the interaction between the brand and the guest, that's the confidentiality, where they are, the location, what they're doing. So there's part of an agreement also. And then the crew side of things, same thing, it's the brand. For us, it's the shirt. If you're wearing the shirt and you're putting content out, it needs to be collaborated with us and controlled with our brand identity.
Okay.
I think we kind of handle it a little differently, though. I know you guys have put out who the owner is and what the owner does, whereas we have never once mentioned who the owner is and what he does. So, and then charter clients, we have never ever shown a charter client on the boat, and that we protect that fiercely. The cameras were always out anyway. We were putting guest video. How the YouTube side kind of started was we were already making these amazing 10, 15 minute long guest videos to give to them as a take home at the end of a charter. And that was a marketing tool as well. Right. Because, at the end of the charter, it says contact your charter broker to book your own family, because these kids, they take the video to school. Rich kids have rich kid friends.
You think?
And, and then the next thing, the next family's booking us. So with the YouTube side, all we had to do was, Austin had to mic me up and I just say, good morning, it's day 3. Here we are in Capri. Look how beautiful this is. And it's not actually focused on the guests at all. It's focused on the crew, the behind the scenes, and then the scenic, this is what you could experience when you're on board.
Right. The experience and the ambiance that you guys create, the magic that gets created. Dustin, you are in a highly competitive space.
Yes.
Walk the docks here and just pay attention to this industry. There are a lot of charter brokers, charter managers. Almost every brokerage house has their own charter division that's part of that. How do you stand ahead of everything else? How does Northrop Johnson show up to be exceptional in a exceptional industry?
It's a great question. Well, we consider ourselves extraordinary at this. We like to lead into the service component, and I think we touched upon that in the last panel, right? We sell products and we sell experiences, but we often forget that we are a service-based industry, right? And a lot of times those brokers, they have subject matter expertise that I don't think we've leaned into enough as an industry. So really capturing what their expertise is in terms of charter marketing, the destination piece of it, all of that is super important, and capturing that in an authentic way, I think, is a big challenge within the industry. Also, an ability to differentiate yourself within the competition, right? And I think that that's an area that we've been heavily focused in to try to really leverage the broker service component, as opposed to just necessarily what products we can sell at the end of the day. Because we are all selling a great experience on a great yacht, but it comes down to the relationship at the end of the day. And how do you really maximize that?
Yeah, we are absolutely in a relationship-based business. Oftentimes, I say we're a 2 degree of separation type business.
Yeah.
So your reputation, you live or die, sink or swim by reputation.
Yes.
And so, of course, that's incredibly important. What types of media have you found that really works best for your program, or
Yeah.
do you leave it up to each individual charter broker to
Superyacht
use
Times.
their own medium?
That's a great question.
Well said. Well said.
I think today's day and age requires hyper personalization, right? We're living in a world of digital media in which everyone wants to be served content that relates to them. Raise your hand if you're interested in destinations that relate to romantic areas, right?
Yeah.
Or adventure, right? Everyone's going to raise their hand for something different. And if I'm serving you content that is completely unrelated to what you're trying to achieve, I missed the mark. Right, so using data as a benefit to understanding what does the consumer really want to achieve within their experience, and serving them with content that's going to relate to that. And that's in a variety of different methods, right? We live in an omni-channel space today. Consumers are looking at content across multiple platforms, whether it be a website, social media, email marketing, and really thinking of that omni-channel strategy holistically as how do you capture each individual moment across the sales cycle, whether that's beginning of the search cycle or whether you're nurturing the consumer to make the final decision, or maybe they're already an existing customer and you want to bring them back. Those content strategies look different across the board, and they can't just be a blanketed approach anymore.
Bravo, bravo. That was actually well answered. Thanks. So we're in a very human experience business, and the most human part of this whole thing is the crew. I'm sitting right next to Graeme Lord, who has been in this industry a long time, very connected to Crew, and he's got a new business now that I think is going to be game changing. We'll talk about that more tomorrow. But tonight, what we're going to talk about is the role of Crew and the human connection in all of this. It's essential to the good experience, and there's so many moving parts there. How do you work with charter organizations, captains like Herb over there, Paul, Liam, to ensure that they've got the tools they need in the manpower on board to do the job that needs to be done?
There's a statement that I like to use, which I think is quite accurate. You can have the greatest yacht in the world, but if you have an average crew, you're going to have an average experience. You can have an average yacht with a great crew, and you're going to have a great experience. So the crew are 80% of the experience. I want to jump to branding for a second. Other than Unbridled and Loon, the only brand that comes to mind in my 30 plus years of doing yachting is the Restless program under AJ Anderson. And what we would expect when you got a resume from someone who worked on the Restless program for 2 years or more is you were going to get an excellent crew member. So he was able to brand it in that way. So he was able to brand. So Restless enjoyed that brand of having the very finest crew. Loon took it to the next step. That the brand of Loon, it doesn't really matter what crew are on board, because you know you're going to get a good experience on Loon. So Loon becomes the brand, and Unbridled becomes the brand. It takes a lot of concern out of anybody that's using the brand, because you are going to get a phenomenal experience. I believe that's where we can take this shift. If everybody involved has a brand that's known to be excellent, then the consumer is always safe. Just like when you go to a Four Seasons, it doesn't matter where it is in the world or who meets you at the door. If you don't know their name, you're going to get an excellent experience. And I love what Loon's doing. I love what Unbridled's doing. I think it's a shift, and I think it's fantastic.
So you brought up Four Seasons, and there we have the what I call the safety net. You know what to expect. And Four Seasons, as does Ritz-Carlton, they've got their floating hotels that are cruise ships with a luxury yacht type of experience that they're selling. Ultimately, I think we all agree this is pretty potentially good for our industry, because it seeds on a lot of levels our industry. But they too have to deliver crew experiences and create a standard. Are there takeaways from that program that we bring into our program to keep us at or above that standard?
I think they proof that branding is everything. Ritz had never been in the boating business or the yachting business, and they come in and enter and they're sold out on every cruise. The master cabin, the first Ritz vessel had two what they call master cabins. They sell for over $10,000 a night. It sold out till as far as they booked or made itineraries, so about 5 years. So they changed the second ship and now they put 10 cabins in because it sells out so quickly. You do the math, that means 2 people for a week are paying $70,000. You can get 12 people onto a yacht. Now those people are capable. There is enough money to get into the yacht side. It's just a logical move from you fly first class for a while and you're making a bit of money. Well, now I'm going to do a charter jet. And that's really what I think that is the shift. You're moving from flying first class in something like Emirates to your first experience on a net jet or something. And you move into the private jet world, and then the next step. And many of us who have traveled with clients have experienced where they had to charter a jet larger than they normally have because they wanted to go look at the boats in Europe. They crossed the Atlantic while they're having to fuel, so they go, I kind of want one of these. And they turn into a buyer. I've experienced that personally with Glenn Smith over there. We experienced it during the flight. So it's a good thing. It's helping to brand the boating experience. And that, I believe, is what we're really talking about in our preparations bureau for sure, is branding didn't exist in this industry. Now it does. It's
Right,
cool.
right. Now, I'm going to speak more to either Dustin or Marin because this is a piece that I think as an industry we've paid attention to, but we don't have a good response to. There's a lot of, I don't know if a lot's the right word, there's enough negative connotations to large yachts and hyper wealthy individuals. How do we as an industry counterbalance that to say that what we do here is not necessarily a negative, that the economics make sense to support an industry like this and bring charter into the mainstream or more of a mainstream, because as these luxury cruise ships scale, it's going to help our charter yacht scale, and there's going to be that argument that you're moving into a space that's politically incorrect.
I mean, I think the public perception on yachting it's not like a super straightforward answer or anything. I mean, I'm in the board of the Superyacht Life Foundation, and I think its main goal is two things. It's creating a positive perception of yachting to the global audience, but what we struggle there with is a little bit that it's a lot of people, and it's a lot of opinion, and it's not like we have 10 people lobbying worldwide everywhere to promote boating. But what we introduced there is World Boating Day. It's basically on one day, people open their doors worldwide from Australia to the Netherlands to America to really show the behind the scenes. Because, I mean, like we discussed before as well, but it's okay, we want people to buy boats, but we also want people to work in this industry. And as I explained in the Netherlands, when the Ukraine-Russian war and then all the boats got seized, yachting got a very negative thing. And, the workers from the Dutch shipyards might be at a football game, it could be the welder or something. And then, people, you work on these Russian boats. So you got a lot of negativity there. But it's very hard to change that, it's not like, even if you PR lobby things, because people, you can say, there work so many people in, but the story is these boats get seized, so they want to write about that. So
Right.
Some things you just can't change. It's just we need to keep feeding the positive side of the business, and it's a long-term game, and you can't convince everything. The Daily Mail will probably write about what the Daily Mail likes to write about, and it's not certainly they're going to say it's all great and sunshine. And of course, accidents with boats don't really help, but you can't avoid that. It's not up, and we just have a voice saying good things, but we can never change that some people will think negatively about yachting. We just have to make sure that the people buying this business, work in this business, at least appreciate what they're doing and they spread the word.
Right. And what do you think, Dustin?
I would agree with most of what was said there, and I think Brett on the last panel touched upon this a little bit. I think there's an angle to take about what is the economic benefits that we bring back to the industry by actually going and hiring an actual yacht and doing charter, because there is the economic benefit to employing the crew and captain and all of that. But I also think as an industry, we need to lean into the eco-friendly initiatives that exist, whether it be working with partners like water.org or anything else, and highlighting what we can be doing to give back. I think we've strayed away from that because we're afraid to walk that fine line of, we know what damages can be done, but leaning into what we could be doing to try to improve, whether it's small wins on a vessel, like, you know, not using towels every day or something else. But there are ways that we can influence the perception of the community by leaning into eco-friendly wins.
Bravo. Now, and this is a great. Yeah, please.
And also, I mean, we do a lot of environmental stuff. We try and be as eco-friendly as we can. The job creation, which you touched on, but then we saw a great opportunity in 2019 when Hurricane Dorian hit the Bahamas, and we were in safe harbor in Atlantis, and the Dorian hit the Abacos just 100 miles north of us. Right. And so we worked with Yacht Global, a really awesome aid agency within the yachting industry. And within 24 hours, I had 22 ex-Navy SEALs on board, and we were full steam ahead straight into the eye of a storm. And we were the first people there, first people they'd seen since a hurricane. We beat the Coast Guard, we beat the Bahamas Defense Force. Cool. We were first boots on the ground. We had our water makers going 24/7. We spent the first 2 days picking up bodies, but then at the same time, we opened up the airport. We were there. You know, my engineers were so invaluable, getting forklifts operating, getting pumps working to drain the airport. I was scuba diving with lift bags and pulling cars up and dragging them out of the way so we could open the port. And I mean, that's something so cool that yachts can do, because we are a service industry, but we have all these amazing skills that do transcend into other areas.
Thanks for stealing my thunder, Paul. Because that's exactly where I was going to take this. I in my own podcast, I talk about doing well for others. I think it's really fundamental that as an industry and individuals, and where we have the capacity to do well for others, we do, and to build reputation and to counterbalance this negative connotation that ostentatious yachts are worthless and you know, all of that crap. So I was aware of what you did, and I've had conversations with some other captains who have done similar things. And you know, I like to talk about how we use these assets sometimes to do amazing things that go unreported, unfortunately, too often. I'm also a huge advocate and participant with the International Seakeeper Society. And I was going to ask you guys, I meant to ask the previous captain, but I knew that if I did, I probably couldn't get him to stop talking. So we'll work with you on this one. Yeah. But yeah, I know. There you go. Captain Herb Magny, he's a great guy. So with the, one of the things we do with Seakeepers is we try to find boats where we can marry some of the scientific expeditions, some of the scientists that need to get out there, or certain things we want to accomplish with vessels that are going into unique areas. And of course, you know, Liam, you're sitting here too with a boat that does a lot of diving on this boat. You've got a lot of resources on this boat. So I'm actually going to direct this to both you guys. How do you see a successful program in charter collaborating with organizations like Seakeeper Societies or others that are looking to do citizen science work, or use these floating platforms to create opportunities for scientific research or ecological investigations?
For me, it's the awareness. I mean, all of these things, the environmental, you know, requirements, and it's an awareness build. So with a guest, you bring people on who speak about it. We've done things in Dominican Republic, in the Silver Banks with the humpback whales up there, which is quite unique. We brought a diver on board who does research with divers and tags them in Silver Banks, a whale researcher. We give the audience and the guests some listening to the music, but it's really about awareness for the guests, and they're happy. Once you speak to them on the front end, they're usually open because they're doing it for their kids. Right. Most of the guests that I have on board Unbridled and in my past, they're happiest when their kids are happiest. And they can sit in a sky lounge or on a sun deck. They take 5 to 10 minutes. There's small moments of pure pleasure. And it's when the kids are out on the jet skis and Paul and his team have got them on a beach, or Unbridled and our team have got them out there diving. That's that moment that they really enjoy. So you work with the kids on the awareness. When you're diving, you pick up things. You tell them about lionfish hunting. You work with seakeepers about ocean conversation. So it's awareness for me.
Yeah. I'd love to do more, to be fair, but I mean, once you're pushing out 20 charters a year plus 2 crossings in a shipyard, it's kind of hard to squeeze anything really more in. But we try to do our part as well. We have done some carbon offsetting has been something which I think is also increasing within the industry. With the kids, we do trash pickups on the beaches in the Bahamas.
And they love it.
Yeah, and we've worked with a few of the Scuba Pro charities. I know the owner's really big into coral regrowth, and Scuba Pro has a whole division that's down in the Key West, and they're growing corals and then taking out and planting them. And we've assisted a couple of times with bits like
I
that.
had my son down at Marin last summer doing some of that work, and it was fascinating, and it was it's necessary.
Yeah.
Do you see many clients coming in and actually asking for these environmental or these unique experiences, or is it more cookie cutter kind of charter experiences that you're experiencing?
For me, it's from the broker's angle.
Yeah.
A lot of what we sell, a lot of it's narrated from what the brokers present to the client as well. So for us as a vessel, as an organisation, as a brand, we promote environmental sustainability. So that's what we hope the brokers represent to the end clients. And once again, it's an awareness build. So our brand is associated with environmental sustainability in the products we try and choose and use.
Yeah, I think a lot of the times maybe the clients don't even know that some of these things are options. So maybe that's where the brokers can sell those style of charters.
And maybe that's some messaging to go out to the charter brokers and managers, is that there are ways to uniquely brand your product and create some different itineraries or different experiences that some of your clients might not even thought about. How would you connect one with the other unless someone put it in front of you, right, Dustin?
Right. And Rick, if I can jump in on that.
Yeah, please.
That's generally my experience with owners of charter yachts. Like attracts like. So however you run your program is the sort of charterer that you're probably going to get. And if you don't get that sort of charterer, it's probably not going to be a great charter. What I'm hearing is there's an opportunity for somebody who has a very eco-friendly program to market themselves as an eco-friendly charter program. And it'll attract that sort of client. Again, it's another branding opportunity. This is where I believe we're going with this again, is that Loon is a fun program. Unbridled's an action-packed program. There can be an eco program, there can be a wellness program, there can be whatever your brand decides you are, is what you are. And that's jumping back to both Unbridled and Loon, from a crew perspective, you guys have done such a good job of making the boat look like it's fun to work on. People want to work on your boat. You don't have to recruit as hard as many other captains do, because they want to be on your boat. And I don't think it's just for the money. I think it's for the experience and other rewards.
Right. So let me go back to what you just said there, because you are in the crew space. You actually help place crew. If you have vessels and programs that are creating demand, how do you vet out the crew to marry up with the program? Is that something that's tenable, that's doable, or is it a luck of the draw type of thing?
It's an area that needs a lot of work, but the work has started. That nothing's changed much in that arena in the 30 years I've been doing it. It's really, I know a friend of a friend, and they're looking for a job, they can come join the boat, and off we go. Now you need to have some basic training, STCW, 1 week course. Now you've got the job, but that's a minimum. We're working to minimums, but expecting to have a maximum outcome. There is a lot more work in profiling and understanding and educating the crew what they're getting into. But I'm going to keep going back to what's happening with the brand is you can now go on as a crew member wanting to get into the business and go, wow, that's Loon, that looks like fun, but maybe I'm really reserved. Maybe that's not my thing. And you can make a decision that's not based on a 20-minute interview, because crew are intelligent people. And anybody can fake their way through an interview, both sides, both the employer and the employee.
Right.
So the interview shouldn't really carry that much weight at all. It should be, is this the experience, this is the experience we're offering to you on board, and is that what you want to do with your life? And I want to just carry on that thought. Again, what I'm seeing here, or what I heard earlier on from Paul, was as they are creating specialities amongst the crew over there, at some point you may decide you don't want to work on a boat anymore. You now have a skill that you can use in the shore side, and it's valuable. And the program has created value for humans over and above what's their immediate job was, and I love that. I think that's many of us come from a crew background. We had no idea what we were going to do when it was time to move ashore. I love that you're creating more opportunities so crew can have a lifetime career, as opposed to 4 or 5 years, flash in the pan, I made some money, I'm going to go back home and lose all that knowledge.
I was going to say that'd be a tragic loss of experience when you lose an individual that's gained that time at sea and then
very unique,
disappears.
very unique.
Incredibly so.
Hard to find knowledge.
Right. So I can segue from that into that. About a week ago, I came on board this boat to talk about doing this. I was greeted at the gangway with a smile and a cool towel, and walked into the wheelhouse where we sat down, Liam and I, to kind of funnily lay some things out. And the crew interaction I had from the moment I stepped on the gangway through the entire day was amazing. I mean, they treated me as special, and that doesn't happen.
You are special.
Yeah, well, we'll leave that one alone for right now. But but I guess where I'm going with this is that you have cultured a standard that I noticed. I've been in this almost 40 years, and so from my perspective, coming on board and having that interaction with your crew, came off the boat bragging about that moment as this media guy that just had an amazing afternoon on board Unbridled. And Paul, I've not been on your boat in a while, but I would imagine I'd have a similar experience if I came on board. And although you guys know me, so maybe not. But point is, how you find these individuals and bring them to that standard. What do you guys do as captains as you are looking to build your team? How does that happen? Because I know it doesn't happen by accident.
Go first.
Yeah.
If you want.
I think that's a great question, and Graeme touched on it well before. Like, when we are looking for crew, it's incredibly easy. We put a post up on Instagram, and I'll get 400 emails within about 15 minutes when I'm looking for a deckhand. Whereas I know a lot of private boats and less known programs, you've got to really, work out there and do it. And we're lucky, and we are blessed that Loon having the reputation that we've built. I hope that my crew will tell me that it's a fun boat to work on, right, Austin?
Louder.
Yeah. And then, and there is also the financial gain. When you do as many charters as we do, the crew make incredible amount of money. And so there are those sort of two things to the side of it.
True. I'll also give full credit to the industry, because what Loon's doing is publicised.
Yeah.
It's from a media background as well. It's people see it. But every other yacht here has exceptional standards. They're not in the Fort Lauderdale Boat Show by accident. Every captain I know in the industry do exceptional things. It's just that you're experiencing this with Unbridled, and some of it's been, used in social media and marketing and things like that. But it's the same in the industry. Industry is a great industry, and we have a great standard, and the mistakes we make are very small, and we're empowering each other to lift our standards.
I think it's just the boats with the Aussie captains.
I think so. It's an Australian thing. The South African crew,
Yeah.
America. Try and take a job, No, it's a good question, but it is a standard within the industry that we keep looking at each other as captains going, how do we get better? How can I do what Loon's doing? How can we push social media like Unbridled and their crew are doing? That's kind of what creates that ability to improve.
And we're one thing I stress hugely with my crew, because we are a charter program, just like you guys, and it's like every crew must have two skills. Like, I can anyone can push a chamois. Like any stewardess can push a vacuum cleaner or whatever. But what else can you offer? So like, one of my deckhands is a personal trainer. I've got stew masseuses. I've got dive instructors, kite instructors. Every single person on the boat has an extra skill that they can offer.
Engineers are doing all the production.
Yeah,
Stefan.
exactly.
That's not usual.
So that is such a huge part of it as well. And there's a lot of great crew in the industry, but being charter boats, you want to have the best crew and you want to have the best of the best.
Well, when you work in an industry that is a top 1% type of industry, how do you stand above that high standard? And so you're dialing down to the top 1% of the top 1%, and that's a hard task. That's a big ask.
It's your reputation before, like with branding, it's your reputation. Northrop Johnson, they've got a great reputation. IYC, great reputation. So the people that you work with within those groups of individuals and those companies, they kind of vet themselves.
That's true.
When you're working with crew and Marcy Williams, when you're working with crew, you know who you're getting before you get them a lot of times, if you check their references and take time.
That's absolutely true. Reputation is how we live and die in this industry.
What is standing out to me in this conversation is that both Liam and Paul appear, and correct me if I'm wrong, to have been empowered by the owner of the vessel to run this as a business. And you're making business decisions as opposed to a side toy that I don't really think about. And it shows. And maybe that's something that if you're going to become a charter program, the owner of the charter program has to commit to being a charter program. You either jump in or jump out. None of this dipping your toes in the water.
Right. Both feet in.
I think I want to. My business is of course different, but I think I've made many mistakes with hiring and things like that as well. But I think for us is because we're slightly different than a normal business if you're in the Netherlands, just office-based 9 to 5, because we travel quite a bit. And if you travel like here, you're with your colleagues every moment you're awake, and sometimes you share a room. So the first thing I always do is are people actually nice? I just don't want drama. But because it saves you a lot of hassle, and I think it's right. So we have 3 former crew members. I like to have more. So if there's any good crew members who can ride, sign me up. But because the good thing is they used to work very hard. They are used to sharing, spaces, and I think they have generally very good mentality. So for us, I really like hiring former crew members because it are excellent employees often.
Well, I'm a little biased, and I'll add to this one. I come from the hospitality space, and I think that there's an opportunity a lot to leverage other industries, right? You've got a lot of training that happens in the hotels, right, with similar standards that you really can be pulling inspiration from or pulling clientele from or new employees from. And I think we miss that opportunity a lot in the recruiting process, where we're looking siloed at how do we get people in from yachting without looking at what other experiences people have in other industries that can actually transfer really easily.
Bravo. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that may go back to the fact that this business was like a secret entity and there was no exposure until very recently. Nobody spoke about yachting. I had experience in Denver. My sister was a very high-end hairstylist, and her clients, they talk because doing hair takes hours. What does your brother do? Oh, he's in the yachting side. And they go, I'd love to know about yachting, but I can find no meaningful information. What you guys are doing is opening that up. And then once you start that conversation, the charter contracts are so outdated. It's ridiculous. This whole concept that, well, you're getting a boat, but then you have to send money for fuel and dockage and food. It's overly complicated.
I've heard people try to compare chartering a yacht to chartering or renting an Airbnb, and it's when you understand the vetting process and the risk that potential charter clients take when they're trying to pick a boat to charter, and then get to pick a time, and they hope that 5 months from now, 8 months from now, that boat's still available, that's still crewed right. All of those things become risk elements. Programs like yours, I think, takes 99% of that risk away, but we are in an industry where that risk exists. And so as an industry, working top down, I think it's important that we try to figure out, are there ways to simplify it? And I'm not in that space. I know some great maritime attorneys that do write into that space, and there's conversations ongoing that we're not going to touch tonight about some of the contracts that exist. But point being is, if you can bring the contractual piece of it to the end user simple enough that they can literally work online through a broker to find the boat they want, get through a vetting process that's adequate, that gets them in the queue, I think you build and scale the industry. And as more difficult you make it, the more of those clients are going to go to the Ritz-Carlton and the Four Seasons and those programs where it's simply going online, putting in your American Express credit card, clicking a couple buttons, and you're in.
Your greatest risk is losing your deposit.
There you go.
Right.
But it's not easy to build a platform where, like Airbnb, you can book it. I mean, you guys, you think about it and you think, because there's so many moving parts, and I think it could only work if there's real-time live availability of each boat and in which location. Loon might know maybe where they are in 6 months, but maybe not in 12 months, or and there's no fixed itineraries, I guess. I mean, it could be if you run a boat like a charter, like fixed itineraries, fixed places, but that's what people don't want. So it's very hard to create it, and it's a very high investment with a pretty small market compared to an Airbnb or any other model. So
If it was easy, everybody would be doing it.
Right. We don't centrally own the inventory, right? So being able to market when they're available, where is hard. But I do think there's things we can do digitally to make the booking process easier. It may not be all the way from start to finish, but I think there's things that you can do on your website and with the process to make it look more like you are booking a hotel suite, right? So choosing dates that look within a calendar, choosing things like add-on amenities or things like that to enhance the experience and make it a little bit closer, at least providing the information in a lead form in that way, gives the customer a little bit more insight, and also the broker as to what is the expectation on the front end. I think there's a lot of times where it goes into, this open system of a lead coming in through this generation of an engine, and there's not a lot of detail there. But I think if you're able to create an experience where you're able to mimic a process that looks similar to another industry, you add a little bit more confidence throughout that process, even if it isn't as streamlined as we would like it to be today.
Perfect. Well said. I appreciate that, Dustin. Marin, any final thoughts you have about our conversation this afternoon?
No, I think it's great that you're doing this, and I think publicity and talks like this, the behind the scenes stories, it's good to share as well for people, because we want to reach as many people to work in this industry, go yachting, and it's nice to hear as well how everybody's doing their business, and we always pick up a few things where you think, oh, that's cool, I didn't know that. So well, thank you very much for having me.
Fantastic. What about you, Graeme? You've been in this for a while.
The subject was the business of yachting. Turn it into a business. There is no reason why the crew can't see what the budget is and what the actuals were and what the targets are. And if you hit your targets, you'll be rewarded, whether that's financially or you get an extra week's vacation, or there's plenty of ways you can reward people and turn it into a business. I love the way Paul's owners treated him. That if you're reaching our minimums and going past it, then you're going to get taken care of. And the boats are chartering for a lot of money. There is money on the table. It might mean that commissions or something like that for brokers might have to adjust slightly to be able to reward the crew a little bit more. There's ways to make this work and build a brand that everybody has the buy-in to make it succeed and get to the next level.
Fantastic. Thanks, Graeme. Dustin, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I think I tell my team this all the time. I say define your swim lane and stick in it. And I think hearing you guys talk about how you're defining each of your individual CAs differently, right, in terms of what's important, and not being afraid to kind of stick to that and lean into it, right? We all have unique experiences that we offer on each vessel, and I think defining what that is, finding out what resonates with the audience, and then doubling down is super important. And I think you guys have found success in that, and will continue to do so.
Agreed. The best for last. We got the captains here off to my right, and these are two really, really successful charter yacht captains who have really, I think, paved the way and set the bar for what this space should look like. So both you guys, final thoughts. You've got an incredible program going. You're synergetically working in competition with each other, but in congruency with each other as well. How does this work, and what do you think?
I don't think we're in competition.
No,
different size
different
boats,
space,
different
space,
itineraries,
yeah.
different. There's enough to go around.
Yeah.
So it's definitely not a competition thing. We do have boats that that we do compete with. Arients and Titania are usually always the ones that we analyze our metrics on for that are in a similar price point, similar size, and dual season boats. So we look at them, and if they're only doing 3 charters and we're doing 10, we're like, wow, that was a great season. But yeah, no, I think Business of Yachting, that's, Graeme, you touched on it perfectly. We do run the boat as a business. It is P&Ls, and as long as I have more P's at the end of the month than L's, the owner leaves me alone.
Minimize the L's?
Yeah, the owner leaves me alone, and he's happy, and the accountant and everybody else. And I get to keep my job for another month. So
that's the business.
That's the business.
Yeah. For me, it's frictionless. You know what Noel says, frictionless. That's what our goal is in industry, for guests to smoothly come on board, enjoy the experience, for the rest of the industry to share that frictionless experience, and we can all be profitable in a sense, and the owner can be happy. But for me, I take my hat out to what Paul's done on Motor Yacht Loon, because that really has set a bar. And that's what I'm impressed with, and that's what I like to achieve. I like challenges, and we're a different space, but the crew become better, the industry becomes better, and we're a different market completely, but it sets a standard that people should watch, because the people above us are the Ritz-Carlton Yacht Collection, and they see us as an easy industry to work towards. We have to be better at what we do then.
And you will be, I'm sure of that. Particularly with this kind of motivation, this kind of conversation, with the mindset you guys bring to the table. I'm hoping people listening to this now, and as this gets published in the days to come and is out there, they start thinking about what we're talking about and realizing this is a business, and there's a way to turn this and monetize it to the benefit of the crew and the owner and the vessel and the entire industry. And that's what I do with Yachting International Radio's Yachting USA. We talk about the business of yachting. I think it's really important that we come together as a professional entity and bring out the best of ourselves and do well for others. We really advocate that, and experience this, what we have here at the Fort Lauderdale Boat Show, this gathering of industry people to talk about what we can do to just stack it up a little bit more. So I would like to thank Captain Liam for your hospitality this week, this opportunity to conduct this symposium, if you will. Paul, it was really wonderful to have your voice today. Dustin, your business, having us on board your dock here and bringing Northrop Johnson to the table, Marinex Company. Graeme, what can I tell you? This is a good conversation, and Miriam, I look forward to more and see you in the Netherlands in a few weeks, and glad you were here with us tonight. And everybody else here at the on deck, I hope you enjoyed. There's refreshments and a little bit of food, and thank your crew. They've been amazing this week, and until the next time, I'm out of here.